This is a mat. For centuries, mats have provided protection and enhanced the presentation of drawings, watercolors, prints, documents, illustrations, needlework, and more recently, photographs.
The traditional function of a mat in a frame piece is to hold the glass off the artwork. This allows the art to breathe and prevents moisture damage. The mat also covers up unsightly margins and uneven edges, creating a cleaner and more beautiful presentation. The beveled edge on the mat was developed to prevent the mat from casting shadows on the artwork.
This is a beveled oval mat. Because the oval complements and echoes the shape of the human face, oval mats are often used to frame paintings and photographs of people. They are also highly effective in landscape scenes and needlepoint work and craft projects. These are double mats. In this video, we'll show you how to cut straight mats, oval mats, and double mats. Now, before we get to the dimensioning and cutting of those mats, let's talk about the mat board.
You can purchase mat board at most art supply stores and through catalogs. A regular full sheet of mat board is 32 by 40 inches. Many stores also carry pre-cut mat board in standard sizes. The advantage to using standard size mat board is that you can then purchase an inexpensive standard size frame with glass at any hardware or home improvement store. Most art supply stores and catalogs also carry a range of frames which they will cut to any size you need. Some stores will even cut mat board and glass down to a specific size for you. Mat board comes in a wide range of colors and textures. Such a wide range, in fact, that it can be difficult for a beginner to select the right mat board for a particular piece of art. For some fine art paintings, prints, and photographs, a simple white or off-white mat is the best possible choice. But for many other types of work, particularly colorful photographs, craft projects, posters, children's art, illustrations, and paintings, colored mat board will greatly enhance the presentation. The most important thing to remember when selecting a mat board color is that you want the mat to enhance rather than dominate the artwork. For this reason, a muted version of a color present in the artwork is often a perfect choice. Try working with an accent color rather than the dominant color in the artwork. In this piece, for example, orange is the dominant color. If I give it an orange mat, the piece looks flat. But if I pick up on these bits of blue-gray with a blue-gray mat, the whole piece comes to life.
These are tips rather than rules, and sometimes the most zany and colorful mats are the best. It's possible for the mat to become a piece of art in itself. Ultimately, you make the choice. Have fun, experiment, be creative. If you're new to mat cutting, you might want to practice on scrap mat board before you start cutting into your good mat board. We will begin by showing you how to cut a basic mat with a 2-inch border. Then we will show you how to figure border dimensions and cut a mat to fit a specific piece of art.
Alto's mat cutting system includes a base unit with a movable cutting guide, the Model 45 mat cutter, 4 cork squares to be attached to the base, 5 blades, and a set of detailed instructions. You can review any of the procedures we will be showing you in the written instructions. Alto's measuring system has a movable cutting guide that adjusts for different border widths. The border width is the outside area of your mat after the window is cut. You can cut any border width with this tool, but standard settings are between 1.5 inches and 6.5 inches in 1/8 inch increments. The holes in the arms are spaced 1/2 inch apart. If you start, for example, at the 2-inch hole, your border measurement will be 2 inches. Then by moving up to the next hole, 2.5 inches, then 3 inches, 3.5 inches, 4 inches, and so on. Each post widens the border by 1/8 of an inch. Here we're set to cut a 2-inch border. The 2-inch hole is on the first post. By moving the same hole up to the next post, we add 1/8 inch to the border width. Now we're set to cut a 2 1/8 inch border. The next post adds another 1/8 inch for 2 1/4 inch border, the next another 1/8 for 2 3/8. The holes are spaced 1/2 inch apart, so place the next hole on the first post and we're set to cut a 2.5 inch border. Move up to the next post for a 2 5/8, again for 2 3/4, again for 2 7/8, back down to the next hole on the first post for 3 inches, and so on. Later in the video, we will show you how to cut borders narrower and wider than the standard settings. To put in a new blade, pivot the handle down, remove the thumb screw, and take the blade holder out. Insert a blade between the two plates. There are 2 sharp points on each blade. After one point becomes dull, flip the blade over for a new one. Pivot the handle down, reinsert the blade holder into the handle, and tighten the thumb screw. To adjust the blade depth, use the depth adjustment screw. Put the cutter on a piece of mat board the thickness of the board you will be cutting. Pivot the blade down over the edge to see if it will cut through all the way. If it needs adjustment, just turn the depth adjustment screw to raise or lower the blade. Always set your blade so it just barely cuts through the mat board you are cutting and slightly into the cutting surface attached to the base. Now we'll cut a practice mat with a 2-inch border. You will need a small to medium-sized piece of mat board, a sharp pencil, and your Alto's mat cutting system. The sides of your mat board should always be smooth and square to each other. Set the dimensioning system at 2 inches by placing the 2-inch hole down on the first post. Press down on the arm to raise the cutting guide and insert your mat board bottom side up under the cutting guide. Make sure the mat board is butted up against the backstops and hold the cutting guide firmly in place. Use a very sharp pencil. Draw start and stop reference lines on all 4 sides of the back of the mat board. These lines serve as guides for where to start and stop your cuts. This line is a start reference line. This is a stop reference line. Hold the cutter tight against the guide and pivot the blade part way down without cutting into the mat board. Position the tip of the blade on the start line. Now, pivot the head down completely through to cut the mat board. Keep even pressure down and into the blade. Push the cutter forward and stop cutting when the cutting edge of the blade reaches the stop reference line. The silver mark on the blade holder indicates the cutting edge of the blade and may be used as a visual aid. Turn the mat for each cut. Adjust the tip of the blade to cut on the start line. Pivot the blade through the board, then push forward to cut to the stop line. Always make sure the board is all the way under the guide and hold the guide firmly in place by pushing it to the left and pressing down. Cutting should feel smooth and easy. After you cut the last side, the window piece should fall freely from your mat. If it doesn't, simply reinsert your mat board and recut the necessary areas, adjusting your blade depth and start and stop positions as needed. These are the basic techniques for cutting mats with your Alto's mat cutting system.
Let's go over some finishing touches and troubleshooting techniques. Take a look at the corners and edges of the mats you've just cut. They should be square and smooth.
Your mat should have straight beveled edges, square corners, and minimal or no overcuts. Although excessive overcuts are undesirable, slight overcuts can be almost imperceptible and are acceptable by most standards. You may need to adjust where you start and stop your cuts, depending on the thickness of your mat board. With thicker mat boards, start a little more before the start reference line and stop a little further past the stop reference line. The lines are your constant reference. After cutting a few practice mats, perfect corners will be easy. To smooth any slightly dented areas or soften the upper edges of the mat, use your window scrap like this. If you didn't cut through the corners completely, don't tear out the corners and ruin the mat. Just take one of your blades and slice out the corner from the front. Be very careful, these blades are sharp. As you'll notice, the cut is 1/8 inch inside the lines. The border width read on the measuring system is the actual border width between the cut edge and the outside mat board edge. The lines act as references for where to start and stop your cuts. Because the cut is at a bevel, the corners need to cross on the back. This will give a perfect corner on the front. Remember, always keep even pressure down and into the blade, with the bottom of the cutter riding flat on the mat board. Don't rock it to either side, always keep it flat. If you don't hold the base of the handle down tight when you start the cut, it could rock back like this. To prevent this, hold down the base with your index finger as you cut the blade in, then push forward to make your cut. One cause of ragged edges on your mats could be a worn-out cutting surface. The cutting surface is the mat board attached to the base of your mat cutting system. After you have cut many mats, it will need to be replaced with scrap mat board. Remove the old cutting surface, attach double stick tape to the back of the new board, and press into place. The system is designed to be used both right or left-handed. For left-handed cutting, just flip the base around, put your mat board under the guide on the left side, and pull the cutter toward you. Use the far line as the start line and the near line as the stop line. Mat board comes in a variety of sizes. To cut mat board down to a specific size for your artwork, accurately measure on the back of the board and draw 2 marks. If possible, measure from a factory cut edge. Always cut on a scrap cutting surface. A piece of old mat board or cardboard will work. You can use your Alto's base and guide as a stable straight edge. Turn the base around 180 degrees and flip the straight edge to the back side of the base. Accurately line the straight edge up on your 2 marks. Hold the guide down securely and lightly score along the straight edge with a sharp utility knife. Some people use a small clamp to secure the straight edge to their table. Cut 2 or 3 times along the score to cut the mat board all the way through. Measure and cut the other sides to get the finished size you need. Always keep your fingers clear of the blades. Remember, these blades are very sharp.
At this point, you should feel comfortable cutting basic single mats. This means you're ready to cut a mat which will fit your artwork. If you need more practice cutting and finishing mats, take whatever time you need to practice before moving on to the next section.
In this example, we will cut a mat to fit this photograph. For this method, you must already have your mat board cut down to size. Position the art piece on the back of the mat board. Use a ruler to measure where you want your window to be cut. Take your measurement to the nearest 1/8 inch. For this photograph, the side borders will be 1 5/8 inches, and the bottom border width will be 1 7/8 inches. Go ahead and write these measurements on the back of your mat board. Press down on the end of the arm to raise the cutting guide. Slide your mat board backside up under the cutting guide until it butts firmly against the stops. Locate the cutting guide at one of your border width measurements, in this example 1 5/8 inches. Draw start and stop reference lines for the top and sides. Adjust the guide for different border widths as needed. In this example, 1 7/8 for the bottom. Draw your last reference line. Now, follow the same procedures for cutting as shown before. Start cutting at the start line, stop cutting at the stop line. Make sure to adjust the cutting guide for different border widths. In this example, changing from 1 7/8 inches for the bottom border to 1 5/8 inches for the top and sides. This is a simple method for cutting a single mat with pre-cut mat board. If you are matting with a ready-made frame, cut your mat board to fit your frame first and then figure border widths. In this method, we will work from the artwork and determine the exact size we need for a custom frame. Here we are using an L cut from mat board to help visualize the opening for the mat. Measure the area of your artwork you wish to show through the mat. This will be your window area. In this example, the width of the window area is 16 inches. Write this measurement down. The height of the window area is 10 1/8 inches. Write this measurement down. Decide on the border widths for the mat. We will use 4 inches for all 4 sides. Add the window area to the border width dimensions. In this example, 16 plus 4 for the 2 sides equals 24 inches. The top and bottom border widths will be 4 inches as well. So add 10 1/8 plus 4 to equal 18 1/8 inches. Therefore, the frame and mat board size will be 24 inches by 18 1/8 inches. Cut your mat board down to size as previously explained. Here we are cutting a piece 24 inches by 18 1/8 inches to fit our overall frame size. Write the border widths on the back of your mat board. 4 inches for the 2 sides, and 4 inches for the top and bottom. Set the dimensioning system to one of your border widths, in this example 4 inches. Slide the mat board backside up under the cutting guide until it butts firmly against the stops. Draw your start and stop reference lines on all 4 sides of the mat board. If there are varying border widths, be sure to adjust the cutting guide accordingly before drawing each line. Here, all the sides are 4 inches. Cut the mat edges. Make sure the cutting guide is set at your written border width before making each cut. In this example, we've designed a custom size mat with a 4-inch border to fit this watercolor. To mount your artwork and mat for hanging or framing, there are many products and techniques available. We recommend acid-free mat board, foam core, or museum board for your backing material. Materials which are not acid-free will yellow and begin to discolor your artwork after a few years. Trim your backing board the same size as your mat. Flip the mat up and hinge it to the backing board with a strip of acid-free framer's tape. This linen framer's tape has a self-adhesive back. Put the artwork in position under the mat window. Use a small, clean object as a weight to hold the artwork in place. You might wish to protect your artwork by using a clean piece of white paper while you do this. Gently lift the mat and mark the location of the artwork on the backing board. You can use these marks to relocate your artwork if necessary. These simple plastic corners are a new and easy way to mount your artwork to your backing board. The self-adhesive backing sticks directly to the backing board and the artwork rests in the plastic corners. Hold the artwork in place by mounting all 4 corners. This watercolor, mounted in a hinged mat, is now ready for framing. There are many types of framing tapes and mounting materials. Traditional Japanese mulberry paper and wheat paste hinges will protect the artwork the best, but for many prints or photos, a T-hinge made from acid-free framing tape will suffice. Tear off small pieces of the tape and attach to the very top edge of the back of the art. Another piece goes across to secure the hinge. Put 2 or more hinges along the top edge only to hang the art behind the mat. To cut very narrow border widths, set the guide to 2 inches and cut a 2-inch strip of mat board. Turn this strip around so you have a square edge to use as your new backstop. Keep this 2-inch strip under the straight edge. Use the edge of the strip as your new backstop and measure out from there. In this example, we need a 3/4 inch border. Just move the guide over 3/4 of an inch and draw your lines. When cutting narrow borders, the mat board is more likely to slip, so use a small square of scrap mat board as an end stop. Use double stick tape to secure it in place. Cut your mat as shown before. Occasionally, you need to cut border widths that are wider than the measuring system will reach. Use the measuring system to draw what start and stop lines you can. Then, use a ruler to measure the wide border widths and mark on the back of the mat board. You can use your straight edge to draw this last reference line. Cut your normal borders using the measuring system as usual. To cut extra wide border widths, place a cutting surface under the mat board. Turn the base unit 180 degrees and flip the guide to the back side. Position the straight edge on your reference line. Hold the guide firmly in place and cut the remaining side. If your mat board is small enough to fit between the two arms, you can slip the mat between them and use the secure straight edge to cut. Set the guide out to about 5 inches so the mat board does not flex too much.
Once you know how to cut single mats, double mats are easy, and they can add so much to your presentation. As you can see, a double mat is just 2 single mats assembled. With double mats, you can be subtle and combine 2 mat boards of the same color. Or you can play with color combinations which accent your artwork. Since only a small portion of the bottom mat shows, you can use a bright color for the bottom mat, accentuating rather than dominating the artwork. You can play with textures in the same way, using linen or metallic surfaced mat board for your bottom mat. The width of liner at the bottom of the mat, which shows, is strictly your decision. Most double mats show a liner of 1/8 to 1/2 inch. If you're batting a large piece of artwork, you may wish to widen the liner. Again, it's your decision. In this demonstration, we're going to cut a double mat with a 1/4 inch liner. The only extra material you're going to need is a double stick tape, available in small rolls and also in a handy dispenser such as this.
A double mat is 2 mats put together. The bottom mat exposed next to the window is called the liner or fillet. The easiest and fastest method for cutting a double mat is to start with 2 mat boards of the exact same size. Measure and cut a mat to fit your artwork, just as if it were a single mat. This will be the bottom mat. The liner can be cut to any width desired. In this example, we will create a 1/4 inch liner by cutting the top mat a 1/4 inch narrower. Set the cutting guide back 1/4 inch or 2 posts. This will make the top mat a 1/4 inch narrower than the bottom mat and expose the 1/4 inch liner. Draw reference lines and cut the top mat window. Assemble these 2 mats by using double stick tape or another acceptable adhesive that does not wrinkle the mat board. Avoid white glue. Apply tape along the inner edges of the top mat and on larger mats along the outer edges also. Carefully align the 2 mats and secure the adhesive. Double mats really add a nice touch to your work. And again, with Alto system, it really is just this simple. The liner of a double mat must be parallel to the top mat. The following method assures perfectly cut parallel edges and is the most accurate method for large double mats. Start with one mat board cut to the overall size for the artwork or to fit the frame size. This is the top mat. The other mat board is cut undersized by about 3/8 inch. This becomes the bottom mat. Because the outer edges of the bottom mat will be hidden from view beneath the top mat, it need not have straight edges. This is a good use for scrap mat board. Keep in mind, parallel edges are assured because the top mat's edges are the only edges against the stops on the base. Set aside the bottom mat board. Position the artwork on the back of the full-size top mat board and determine the border widths by using a ruler as shown earlier. In this example, all of the border widths are equal at 2 3/8 inches. Write 2 3/8 inches on all 4 sides of the back of the bottom mat. Even though we figured these dimensions on the full-size top mat, they must be written on the bottom mat because it will be the liner next to your artwork. For this example, we have selected a liner width of 3/8 inch. Therefore, the top mat border is 3/8 inch less than the bottom mat. We have already determined the bottom mat border at 2 3/8 inch, so the top mat border is 3/8 inch less, or 2 inches. Write 2 inches on all 4 sides of the top mat board. We will cut the top mat first. Follow the procedures for cutting a single mat. Set the guide at 2 inches and draw start and stop reference lines. Draw a line at the top for repositioning the window scrap later. Cut out the top mat window. Make sure you have a good, cleanly cut mat. Now, carefully put the window back in place, using the line to be sure it's positioned correctly. On the back of the top mat, apply double stick tape. Position the bottom mat face side down on the top mat. Be sure that the outer edges of the bottom mat do not extend beyond the edges of the top mat. Press firmly in place to secure the tape. Place the mats under the cutting guide and move the guide out to the bottom mat setting of 2 3/8 inches, or outward 3 posts. Draw reference lines and cut the window. Immediately separate the 2 center pieces. Rub off any tape. If this is done now, the centers may be used later as mats. As you can see, this simple technique is a fast and accurate way to double mat your work. Complex corners are very easy to design and cut with Alto's system. Here we've cut a double mat with a 1/2 inch step and a 1/4 inch liner. To create complex corners like these, use your measuring system to lay out your design on the back of the mat. Then use these lines as start and stop reference lines, as we have for single and double mats. Look for our advanced videotapes to help guide you through complex mats like these.
This is the end of the instructions on cutting straight mats. We suggest that you practice these techniques on scrap mat board and then mat any of the artwork that you might have in your own home. You can review any section of the video that you think you might need some help on. In the next section, we'll take you through the oval mat cutting. Now, for those of you who don't own Alto's oval templates, we suggest that you watch this section to see how versatile and how easy they are to use. Alto's oval templates are a fast and easy way of cutting attractive oval mats and arcs. As in straight mat cutting, there are a few techniques you'll have to learn, and then you'll be on your way to cutting beautiful oval mats. Alto's oval template set includes 4 templates, 4 spacers, a line guide, tacks, a cutter handle with 5 blades, and a complete instruction manual. All you need is mat board, a ruler, and a pencil. In all, Alto's oval template will cut 20 sizes of oval openings. You can refer to the instruction manual as we go along. Remember, you can use scrap mat board to follow the next exercise. Each template has suggested mat size, suggested print size, and the actual opening size embossed on it to help you select the right template for your artwork and frame. If your oval template set is new, assemble the template by popping the tacks through the holes and leaving the tacks in place permanently. We'll use an 11 by 14 inch mat board for this demonstration. Place 1 or 2 scrap mat boards underneath. They receive the tacks used to keep the templates in position. They protect your work surfaces from the tacks and act as your cutting surface when you cut the ovals. Find the center of the mat board by lining up a ruler or straight edge from corner to corner and penciling an X in the middle. Center the template on the mat board by locating the hole over the X. To assist accurate centering of the top, mark a line on the template above the center of the tack. Measure from right and left and adjust this mark to the center. Use a ruler or a piece of mat board as shown here. While holding the template down, tap on the template near each tack. This raises the tacks while lowering the template to the mat board. Now tap in each tack with the cutter handle through the first mat and into the second mat to hold the template in place. Without inserting the blade into the mat board, place the cutter handle next to the template as shown. Make sure these two contact points are touching the template. To avoid an abrupt starting mark, gradually insert the blade into the mat board over about a 3 or 4 inch arc. Push forward, keeping the two contact points tight against the template, and gradually submerge the blade to its fullest depth. The cutter handle must remain flat on the mat board. Cut around the template in comfortable arcs, turning the mat boards as you go. Keep your eye on the nearest point and consciously push toward the center. This keeps the handle tight against the template and helps keep the cutter from swinging out. Finish cutting the oval window. If the handle becomes removed while cutting, carefully reinsert the blade into the cut and continue on. When you have cut completely around your oval, remove the window. That's all there is to it. The edges of your oval mat should be perfectly smooth. Any edges not completely smooth may be carefully trimmed with the cutter handle. This little gadget, included in your oval template set, is called a line guide. Here's how you use it. Place the line guide next to the template so the two contact points are touching. Insert your marker in one of the holes and run it around the template like this. Go around twice to ensure an even line and set the marker aside. If the marker you plan to use has a tendency to bleed when you hold it in one place, begin moving the line guide before lowering the marker onto the mat board. When you come back around, you can easily cover your starting point. It's a good idea to test markers out on a scrap mat board before trying them on your good mat board. Try this handy guide on one of your oval mats before going on to the next section. The oval template set comes with 4 spacers, 1/16, 1/8, 1/4, and 3/8 inch. They fit directly into the handle like this to expand the size of your oval templates. Cut as shown before, gradually submerging the blade as you start the cut. Keep the two contact points flush with the template, the handle flat on the mat board, and cut in comfortable arcs. These 4 spacers allow you to cut 20 different size oval openings, double mats, inlays, and other fancy designs. Now we will show you how to cut a double oval mat. Prepare 2 mat boards. The top mat board should be cut to fit the desired frame or artwork. The bottom mat must be undersized. Center the template on the front side of the top mat board. Be sure to place a scrap mat board underneath. Cut the window with a spacer in the handle. The size of your spacer will determine the size of your liner. Remove the window and separate it from the template. Locate the template on the smaller or bottom mat board near the center. Make sure there is a scrap mat board underneath. Tap in the tacks and cut this window without a spacer. Apply double-stick tape to the back of the larger top mat. Assemble the two mats by carefully positioning the small mat under the larger mat and secure in place. This mat has a 1/4 inch liner because a 1/4 inch spacer was used for the top mat and no spacer was used for the bottom mat. Other liner variations are possible with combinations of spacers and templates. Here is a second method for cutting double oval mats. Two mat boards of the same size and shape are used. Line up the two mat boards with the bottom mat board on top as the bottom mat board is cut first. It will become the liner. Place a scrap mat board underneath. Locate the template where the oval window is to be cut. Fasten the template in place and cut the window. Remember to keep the two contact points touching the template at all times. The tacks will register through on the other mat board and the template will later be located in those tack holes. Set aside the bottom mat. Put another piece of scrap mat board underneath. Now on the top mat, position the template in the tack holes and fasten in place. Insert a spacer into the handle for the selected liner width and cut the window as before. Remember to keep the handle in tight to the template and cut in comfortable arcs. Assemble the mats as before. That's all there is to it. Here are a few fun and easy ideas for combining Alto's mat cutting system and the oval template set. Here we've combined an oval bottom mat with a straight top mat to make an attractive and different double mat. This we call an oval arc on a straight mat. To make a mat like this, first cut a straight mat. Put two cutting surfaces under the mat and set the mat window scrap back in place. Position an oval template overlapping the top border and pound in the tacks. Start your cut in the window area. Cut around the oval arc and back into the window again. Set the scrap aside, and you have an attractive combination mat. As you have seen in these demonstrations, Alto's pin and hole dimensioning system is the key to the simplification of matting. Because you can change dimensions quickly and accurately, complex designs that were once made only by professionals are now easy for you to design and cut. With these basic techniques, any design can be cut. Here are a few examples. Most mats have different border widths. The ease with which you can set the guide to any 1/8 inch increment means faster layout and cutting of all mats, especially double mats or those with different border widths. You can reduce your time doing multiple mats by extending your layout lines all the way to the edges. In this way, as you lay out and cut the other layers, you can always see where the previous cuts were made. When laying out complex corner designs using the measuring system, start with the basic window layout and extend the corner designs from there. There are unlimited possibilities. To lay out a complex corner, you just need to know where to stop and start your cuts. By moving your dimensioning system, you can lay out any pattern on the back of the mat. Just think of the smaller lines as the new start and stop reference lines. Cut these smaller areas with the same basic cutting techniques used for a regular mat. This procedure will be covered in detail in our advanced videotape. You can save considerable time laying out and cutting multiple openings using the measuring system. Combining rectangular and oval openings will give you an unlimited variety of designs. The cutting guide can be used in other ways as well. To save time doing French mats, use the cutting guide on the front of the mat to lay out and ink your work. Embossed lines are also easy to do. Use a blunt metal, wood, or plastic tool to emboss lines into the front of the mat board. For extra large mats or for openings too far from the edge for regular methods, attach the cutting guide to the back side of the pin stops. Line the guide up to your reference lines and cut as usual. Freehand cutting with Alto's cutter handle is very easy to do, and the possibilities are endless. Cut from the front or back of the mat. Cut in one direction, turn the mat board around, and cut back the other direction. This is the basic technique for all freehand cutting. We hope you enjoyed learning how to cut your own mats using Alto's mat cutting systems. Look for our advanced video where you'll learn how to cut multiple openings, complex corners, and freehand designs using the same techniques and tools you've just seen.